Yo guys, what is up? It's Nico and welcome to today's video. We've done a little upgrade. We have implemented the new microphone here just to bring the audio to the next level, or at least attempting to do so. And today I'm coming at you guys with a new exercise that you've probably never seen before, which is gonna help you to alleviate that infamous anterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt is a condition where the pelvis tends to be shifted forward, okay? It's tilted forward, and the main cause of that is poor posture, and it causes tightness at the hip flexor and at the lower back. Lower back, specifically muscle like multifidus, QL, and the inferior portion of the erector spinae. Along with that, guys, you have underactivation of the rectus abdominis and lower posterior chain, like the glutes and hamstring. So the go-to option to kind of tackle this dysfunction and alleviate, try to lessen the dysfunction, and you find these exercises online all over the places, is stretching the hip flexor, as you can see in the screen. I've done a record, actually me stretching the hip flexor in this position here. As you can see, I try to even side bend the trunk opposite to where I'm stretching the leg that I'm stretching, but at the same time, guys, a nuance, the detail that I wanna underline and highlight here is just creating that internal rotation of the femur at the hips that you're stretching, guys. That's gonna even intensify the stretching even more, because the iliopsoas is responsible of a bit of external rotation too. So if we can just like place the femur into an internally rotated position, then for sure you're gonna intensify the stretching. And make sure not to hammer that position by shifting your body weight too much forward, because you might create a forward translation of the head of the femur into the acetabulum. It might create a bit of pain, you might sense like pinching sensation. And just by squeezing the glutes maximally and creating that posterior pelvic tilt in that position, your stretching is gonna be strong enough to be effective on releasing that tension and increasing the tissue extensibility there at the hip flexor. Another exercise that you could do, and is always prescribed for this, tends to be glute bridges and variation of this exercise. As you can see on the screen right now, like I started performing glute bridges with 2 feet on the floor, so we have like both hips activating simultaneously. But a nuance and a little details that you want to implement in this movement is for sure creating that posterior pelvic tilt at the get-go, at the beginning. Make sure, a lot of time I see people, guys, performing these glute bridges forgetting about the position of the pelvis at the beginning, and then what ends up happening when you get to the top, the pelvis might be slightly anteriorly tilted, and then you gotta force and hammer that posterior tilt by squeezing the glute to the top. Why don't you start from the bottom, guys? Why don't you tilt the pelvis posteriorly from the bottom, so you feel the glutes activating from the get-go, from the very beginning of the exercise, of the reps, and you can keep that activation all the way up when you reach maximal extension of the hips. You're gonna notice that when I start the exercise, let me probably go back so you can notice that. I'm even just mimicking that so you can see better. And I'm using my hands to show you the position and the shift of the pelvis. To try to tuck the pelvis in first, and then you drive through the heels and you bring the hips up as much as you can towards the ceiling. If you're strong enough in this position with 2 legs on the floor, you can even just ditch 1 leg, you do unilateral, as long as you keep the pelvis aligned, you don't let it drop. And also, if you want to bring the glute meats into the picture a bit more, you can put a band around the knee, like you have to work on the stretch reflex, pressing against the band externally, okay, and forcing that a bit of a abduction at the hip. The exercise that I want to introduce to you guys is a bit it's not a conventional way to go, a conventional exercise. The rationale behind this exercise is try to contract the muscle that tend to be underactive. As I mentioned before, the rectus abdominis and the hamstring, because we have taken care of the glutes through the glute bridges, and in minor part, obviously, the hamstring are going to be activating that exercise too, as well as the rectus abdominis. But with this exercise, guys, which I'll put on the screen right now, you're gonna be starting in a supine position with the hips flexed approximately at 90 degrees. Now, I've used a Swiss ball in this case, but you can use any object that allow you to press against and hold that isometric contraction while moving the pelvis into maximal flexion. And in that position there, guys, while keeping pressure, the isometric pressure on the ball, which is going to allow you to target and activate the hamstring maximally, I want you to flex the hip up and crunch. Try to bring the rib cage down and bring the knee as close as possible to your chest. And that way you're going to be able to activate the rectus abdominis, which is going to pull up in the front of the pelvis. So if the pelvis is tilted forward, if the front of the pelvis is pulling up, what happened? It's gonna go neutral. And at the same time, considering the attachment and the origin of the hamstring in the ischiotuberosity, by keeping tension there, you're gonna be able to pull back even further, creating that the neutral position. If anything, you're gonna see the pelvis is not gonna stay neutral, it's gonna go into a posterior pelvic tilt, which is fine. As long as you breathe and at the same time you maximally contract this opposite muscle, in this case the rectus abdominis and the hamstring, you're going to teach the nervous system where to locate the pelvis as a standard default position, and implementing this in your routine along with the hip flexor stretch with a few details that I share with you, so not hammering the femur forward too much, and by squeezing the glutes and creating that internal rotation along with the glutes with the posterior pelvic tilt at the bottom, you're going to be able for sure to alleviate this dysfunction, muscular dysfunction that create all sorts of problems. It might create some lower back pain, some feeling of hip impingement, especially the one on the squat, guys, because if you start squat with anterior pelvic tilt with the bump sticking out, as you go down, you have less room for the femur to flex, the hip to flex, and you're going to hit that. And then it depends even on the anatomy, but generally I'll say if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, you won't be able to keep that aligned position of the pelvis, and you might feel a bit of impingement or symptoms of FII at the bottom of the squat. So implement this exercise along with the other two with the gold standard, the go-to option. Let me know what you think, guys. If this exercise has been helpful and has helped you to release the low back pain, or even just create a bit of decompression of the spine that release those muscles super tight at the low back, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Share with your friend, put a like to this video, and if you want to see more of this video, subscribe to the channel. For me, guys, is everything. Hope to see you soon. Until the next time. Peace.